back to the LCS waiting room. It's been a whole week since LCS came.
It's been
5 days. Yeah, Monday to Friday, no LCS.
It's been so long.
It's been so long.
Yes.
But we also have a special guest. Welcome, Basil.
Hello, guys.
Introduce yourself.
I draw cats on Twitter for the most part. Yeah. That's my job.
Yeah. Getting paid the big bucks from FlyQuest. So you are a FlyQuest personality essentially as well. And you do like a regular kind of interview, kind of like podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it gives me an excuse to talk to people that I really like. You know, I really like the league. I feel like I don't talk about that too often. It's a little embarrassing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's fun.
Because you're bad, right? At league.
Oh.
It's embarrassing to like League?
No,
Come on now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Please don't fire me. I just got here.
I've seen your Kai'Sa performances.
It's pretty good. Let's be honest, it's pretty good. It's not my fault I can't carry you. Like, I think there's
That's crazy. All right. No.
But yeah, you draw a lot of cats. Raz also fancies himself a bit of an artist.
I am incredible.
So we're doing a competition, I hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll have like
competition?
Emily, who's going to be judging us as well as you.
Yeah.
So we have some real unbiased judges. But just as a reminder, guys, I work with you regularly. So
I think there's some bias. That's so weird.
nah, there's no bias involved whatsoever. And we have the chat as well. So it's based on the people in the chat as well. If you guys want to be the judges.
Vote between the two of them.
So
Just remember
you're
I'm
drawing,
watching.
Raz, you're drawing a cat.
Yes.
What kind of cat?
That's the mystery, all right?
No, you're drawing each other as
Yeah,
cats.
you're drawing
I'm just
each other
trying
as
to let
cats.
you set it up. But no one's saying what
I
you're
don't think
drawing
he knows
about.
what's happening.
Yeah, you're
yes.
drawing each other. So start drawing.
We
Let's
will be drawing
get
each
into
other
this.
as cats,
Yeah.
and we'll be trying to make us as close
if
to
you
each
take
other
too
as
long,
possible.
Raz, we're gonna
Yeah.
start
I
counting
promise
you down.
I will not.
My cat's gonna look so good. I don't think
Because I know she's really fast.
Yeah.
I feel like she's gonna kick your butt.
No,
She's basically
no.
almost done, Raz. You better hurry up.
What?
Yeah, I can see both from
Because she
here.
just put so little effort into it.
It's actually really
wow.
good.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Oh, that is looking really good. I don't know, Raz.
Raz's is not.
I
Yeah.
can't see it from here. I kind of want to. Wait.
I mean, we might even say first person to finish will win.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've won it, seems.
Boom! I finished.
Well, I take that back. The first person to finish is
Well, I also take it back. I was already done, actually.
All right, let's take a look.
All right.
Show
Raz,
the camera.
Pen up.
He can keep drawing. He's
All
never
right,
going to
okay.
So this is my Erasca.
Oh no! You're calling him out for the 5
What do you
head.
think?
Wow.
Yeah, see, I had to include that you're like kind of bald.
Kind of bald. I literally can grow an afro if I wanted to.
Lift up, can you lift up your...
No, I don't think I will.
That's what I
I don't think I will. Okay, and then mine I think is incredible artwork. So if you get that single on me.
Sorry?
Look, so first and foremost, you're evil. So I wanted to be able to draw the fangs. You might you're wondering what is actually the nose there. That's,
I am.
Those are cheeks. Those are butt cheeks. Because you were probably wondering what smells. It's you. So I feel like it's incredibly accurate to what you provide regularly. And I put the bald head with Krillin marks basically because, yeah.
I'm like in shock. Like, I don't even... Can
I
you
think I
even rate
won.
that? Is that a cat?
It is a cat. It has a tail.
Doesn't even have cat ears.
Okay,
No,
Raz,
that's
what-
what I'm
does it?
thinking.
What is chat?
You don't have a
Chat
tail
has
on
to be
yours.
voting for Basil, right?
Okay, I'm looking
We
at
might
the
have
chat
to kick
now.
you off the show.
People are laughing, but I think they recognize
Yeah.
that my cat is a lot more
right.
accurate.
Basil win GG.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right,
GG,
all right.
GG.
All right,
That is also
no,
my
wait.
That's
call.
my vote. 3-0.
Raz got smoked.
3-0 or 4-1,
No, you flipped
depending
over
on
the
if we let
canvas,
Raz.
and I was like, we drew cats. Like, that was the prompt, right?
Yeah.
Your cat doesn't have a
Doesn't even
tail.
have cat ears.
Your cat doesn't look like a cat.
We're done with this.
He's done with drawing.
All right, we're done here.
Quick retirement for Raz. Congratulations on the gold medal, Basil. We're moving on to the LCS patch. We are on live patch 14.15. The one note here is this is pre-Aurora hotfix.
Yes.
But Aurora will be enabled, and we'll get into that a little
So
bit later.
excited.
I have some tips and tricks for Aurora. But patch talk, 80 carry nerfs-ish?
Yeah.
Question mark?
I mean, where is the question mark? It's an exclamation mark. They decided to just...
Yeah.
I'm not saying they killed the role because I think the role is already strong, but the focus is going to be on like Kraken Slayer changes. Yes, the movement speed is down, but the biggest one is the fact that they've actually decreased the effectiveness for ranged champions by 20%. So it's an 80% effectiveness there, which is just much weaker. So people are moving towards more like Blade of the Rune King, or if you're a Trinity Force user like an Ezreal, then you can go in that route. They also hit Lore's Dominic Regard, Mortal Reminder, Fleet Footwork. They already hit the sustain in runes in the previous patch as well. So their main goal is to take the AD carries out of solo lanes primarily. They decided to love tap Lord Dominic's Regards or just Pen in general, which whatever. I mean, that's not my cup of tea, but I think it will and it should move the needle for AD carries.
Yeah, I mean, watching the pick bans and seeing at least like 2 ADCs on every team and probably 3 bans per team is a bit concerning. So I can understand like why they would go ahead with these nerfs. It kind of sucks because I feel like LDR is such a massive item. So for these champions, like unfortunately these champions are so prominent in, you know, side lanes or in duo lanes, but it's an understandable change, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another change that is just more of a, it's important but not exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
The boots nerfs. All the boots just got nerfed. Like, no one's complained about boots being overpowered, but what this will do is it's going to change build paths because it is just substantially more of an early game investment if you want to get that early move speed because of the increasing cost and all the boots.
Yeah, that's what's basically going to change is just overall build paths and build order. Previously, boots were just such an efficient shot of stats that you could get really early on, and now they don't do as much and are more expensive. Except for that little plating buff on steel caps.
Yeah, but for later on in the game.
Yeah.
So like you're not going to be seeing a Corki walk up into lane with like ninja tabbies, be like, all right, I'm good for the rest of the
game.
lost. And it's over. So I think these are really positive changes, and I hope to God that we won't see AD carries mid as constant as we have been seeing. Literally last night we were seeing Chovy playing Zeri mid, and we've seen Zeri mid quite a bit already, but I was like, as long as we don't see the comps where it's like Kalista top, Lucian mid, like MF bot lane, then I'm blessed. I'm happy.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Just another reminder, we are on live patch 14.15, and that means Aurora is enabled. So let's check out a preview of League's newest champion.
Initial reactions to Aurora is that she's kind of like similar to like Lilia in terms of like how the kit works. Like it's kind of like a champ that wants to like get in, pockets passive, kind of wait for cooldowns, and then like keep kind of like latching on and like slowly chipping down at people.
Just like fighting in general on that champion seems very fun. You just get invisibility, good dueling kit with Q, a reset on takedowns, insane movement speed, and then just like teleporting and going invisible. But if I play against it and it just goes invisible over and over and just keeps teleporting, that's probably going to be really frustrating as an AD carry. But playing it seems really fun.
I think it's a champion that kind of suits my playstyle quite a bit, if it can go jungle. Yeah, her Q is kind of like a little projectile you throw out, and then if it hits someone, you can kind of suck up some damage afterwards. It gives you some movement speed. Her W is a quick stealth. I think it lasts like 1.5 seconds. Her E is just like another projectile, and then her R is like a big cage match where you're just lock champions in, and if you hit the outer edge, you can like teleport in between sides. Her ulti is definitely pretty unique.
I feel like it'll be really fun to play her because she has so much mobility. She keeps like moving everywhere and dashing everywhere. I'll definitely play her when she comes out. She just looks fun.
Does look fun. There's that video. I also talked to at least 10 coaches and players asking if they thought Aurora would be played this week or pick banned. None of them said no. So all of them said picked or banned, and then I did some more digging. I want to thank Lol Dobby's YouTube video for some of these tricks. I talked to Pobelter as well. You had the basic ability rundown just there in the video, but Q has a return after you land it. One important thing to note about that is if you're, let's say, in lane or something, and let's pretend some of these dummies are minions, once you Q, you hold it for a bit, and the pass-through will do more damage if you pull it through everyone. So if someone tries to stand in front of the wave and you Q behind that wave and then pull it through, you're going to do extra damage to that person. Another quick way of trading is just like auto QE, and then no matter what they do, how far away they get, you can still pull that Q back for the extra damage. So once you have lethal on someone, they almost can't flash. But the big thing that makes this champion a threat is the ability to hard engage, and from the range you can do it. So you see there is a dummy over here because we're in practice tool, but if you were in game, you wouldn't even be able to see it. And even without using my W, if I just R in, it's not quite enough range. I'm gonna try this again. If I just am at the edge of fog and I R, the ult will reach that person, I can go next to them, I can QE one-shot them, and then I could W away. Would be an example of an engage. Another thing that this R can do would make you relatively ungankable once you have it. So let's say someone tries to gank you in the top lane. You could dash over the wall with R, and if you're good at the champion, you're gonna position it so that you can actually hop back. Let me try this one more time. So if I just R'd here, I can go over, and if they follow, I can hop back. So you can basically dance everywhere. Also note that since you have your W that stealths you and repositions you, you also have your E, which will damage and reposition you. The ability for outplay in skirmishes is absolutely absurd. And one final thing, if you are top lane and you're at Raptor Pit, it's very easy to either R over the wall, and look at that circle, it's gonna do damage to everyone under turret, or you could obviously just W over the wall first, and then R wherever you want, and then dash basically wherever you want with this ultimate. So pretty insane. In terms of matchups, my prediction for this champion is that because it's relatively short range, I think it can actually beat AD carries mid because of its ability to assassinate and trade, but lose to mages mid. So if it's a mid pick we're talking about, I think it would be banned mostly. If it's top lane, it can bully bruisers. Another reason that I think it might actually just get banned, because if they ban it out, they can continue the marksman mid lane, and if they leave it open and try and blind a marksman mid, then not only does it beat your marksman, you also have to worry about a top lane because it's currently a flex pick. So I actually don't think we're gonna see it. I think we're gonna see it banned in every game. That's my prediction.
And you mentioned, of course, like basically how much of a trickster she is and a lot of the combinations that she can use in the game. Just her numbers in and of itself is ridiculous. So as a reminder, yes, the micro patch that happened is not going to be in effect for this week. That the nerfs that she received, so just as a reminder of the nerfs, she does have passive percent HP damage to her 3-hit procs. And it got nerfed from 4% to 2%, 2.5. You're seeing the full 4% in her percent HP damage. Also, the second Q iteration that you were talking about, when you can Q forward and Q back, is execute damage similar to Lee Sin.
Correct.
So the fact that you can Q, get your damage across, get as much damage as possible, then you can Q back. It also has the cooldown like Lee Sin, so if you hold on to it a long period of time, it's still ticking, so you can Q again afterwards. So there's a lot about her numbers that are oppressive and deal very well versus HP targets like top lane melees.
Yeah, and it's not just the numbers, I think, especially against in like certain top matchups. She's really annoying, and also she's incredibly difficult to get on, right? Like Busio pulled out the Lilia comparison. I think a lot of people have also said like, oh, she's a lot like Nico. I even saw, I'm pretty sure Molecule tweeted out someone who's been cooking AD builds for her that are very similar to what you might run on a Nico, so I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't think we'll see that at all. I think she'll just go AP, but.
Ooh, last little bit that you brushed on with her ulti. To get out, of course you get the slow. You have to flash out or blink.
Correct.
Like you are locked in there. So it's essentially like if you think of a J4 ulti, it's a big old J4 ulti.
But it does damage in a huge radius on the way out. So even if you just are in the start of a team fight, sometimes that's going to be enough before the assassination. So I think the ult is the most powerful part of the kit. We'll see if it gets played today. Let's check out the schedule for this week of the LCS. Only 2 weeks left, which means 2 matches for each team before the season is over. The biggest highlight is obviously going to be Team Liquid versus Cloud9. 2 undefeated teams have never met this late into the LCS season. Also, we had a format change, so they played fewer matches, but we can rush over that one. Undefeated matchup in week 6, pretty cool. So C9 and TL, they face off tomorrow in that battle to stay undefeated, and I did sit down with APA and JoJo ahead of their match. Take a look.
JoJo for the longest time, before I entered the league, was kind of just running the league.
Okay.
But then, I mean, less so last split, because he was still kind of running the league last split. His team just sucked. But
I mean, I thought my team was pretty good last split. To be honest, I definitely should have helped my team improve more because I was giving bad practice, so we couldn't really improve as a team. But I thought my team played pretty well last split, to be honest. I think in playoffs, I was underperforming, to be honest. Versus FlyQuest or versus TL, I was a problem for sure.
Cool.
You don't think so?
So I do know that since I've been in the league, he has not made an international event.
This is true. The last one was
That is
2022.
true.
So what's different this split? Do you think we're both making it? Or am I going to kick you out again?
You think you're gonna kick me out?
When I see other players in the league, like I think River, for example, is really good in the regular season, but then River always chokes in playoffs. Are you like that?
I mean, I think definitely TL plays well in playoffs, at least the last split. But to be honest, I think C9 as a team just choked in the playoffs last split. I think it was me choking too. I don't know if it was choking or us just.
So you choked playoffs?
To be honest, I wouldn't say it's choking. I think we just suck. I don't know if that's the same thing. Like, we could say we sucked last split in the playoffs. We just, TL and FlyQuest got better and we weren't improving. Or we could say we choked. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. We just lost, which sucks. But this split, I don't think it'll happen again. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen again. And I think we're preparing for that, so.
Any final thoughts, you two? You play each other week 6.
I
Probably playing each other in the playoffs. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think C9 this split is better than last split. I think it's not close, to be honest. And I think TL, they're good, but I think they might be too, I don't know if cocky is the word, but they're maybe too, yeah, they are too cocky. I'm not saying they're bad, but this might drag them down, to be honest, so we'll just have to see. But I definitely think we have good odds.
Final thoughts?
I think we're going to 2-0 C9. I don't think it's going to be close. I think we're the best team in the league by far.
I respect that, but we'll just see.
I respect that, but we'll just see. I also like how it's like, oh, do you guys also choke in playoffs? And just like, no, I think we were just bad.
Yeah, it's not joking.
Which is an interesting way of seeing it, right? I feel like JoJo and APA both, more than people might realize, bring a lot of the team failures on their own shoulders and really own up to their mistakes a lot of the time publicly. This matchup, not only just between them, but between the two teams, is going to be really, really interesting because I also think both teams have very different play styles.
Yeah, I mean, these two teams are both really exciting to watch. Aside from the fact that, you know, I'm under FlyQuest, I really enjoy watching whenever like TL gets to play, just because you know the game quality is going to be really good, either on the side of TL where they really stomp other teams, or where even in the games where they falter, they typically come back in a very convincing manner. Same thing for C9. I will say last split they were a little shaky. Like some of their losses were like, oh, that was really, really bad. But because I think they haven't played the most intense teams right now, this TL match, if they can show up, I think is like super telling of who's probably going to win at the very end. But
Which matchup are you looking forward to the most with TL versus C9? Just like a lane matchup, jungle matchup, anything that catches your eye?
I mean, super biased, but I think bot lanes, like really, these two bot lanes are very prominent. I don't know. Like Cordaday has been looking really, really good. I want to see if Berserker is essentially back in form. And because Yon, maybe like a split or two ago, wasn't really seen as, you know, super intense, or like no one was really scared of him, but now they see Cordaday Yon as such a strong bot lane. I do want to see how that compares to a bot lane that people used to respect a lot more, but are a bit unsure about right now.
Yeah, and it's really hard to tell the power level of Cloud9 because they played only the teams below them, and they haven't played FlyQuest or TL yet. But I wanted to go over some playoff scenarios because we because we're at an interesting point, right, with this new format, because we have 2 weeks left, but we actually only have 2 matchups for each team. So it's as if we were in. If we teleported back to Spring Split, it's almost like we have only 2 days left in the whole season. So a couple things to note about these playoffs. Top 2 will get a bye in playoffs, which will put them in a position where they win a single best of 5 and move to Worlds. So if we're talking about this TL-C9 matchup, a 2-0 for Team Liquid would actually clinch them top 2. A 2-1 for Team Liquid would also clinch them a top 2, but you can see a 2-1 or a 2-0 would actually make a difference for Cloud9 because they would either be almost clinch top 2 or guaranteed clinch top 2. But that's for a future day. There are very few situations where we can have ties because the way the standings will generally work is series score will be the primary determiner, but then your game win percentage will be the secondary determiner. But we can get a 3-way tie.
Okay.
So I've seen this in a dream.
You dream about playoff scenarios?
Boom. 3-way tie between NRG and Immortals and 100 Thieves if these 6 things happen, which is not too far outside the realm of possibility.
Oh my God, it actually
Yeah.
seems possible.
It actually seems possible.
Yeah.
Our stats
Yeah.
guy, Leo, who built this tool and makes Foldy sheets, is thrilled.
He's sitting back there. He's
Very
like,
thrilled.
it can happen.
Yeah.
It can still happen.
Okay, last thing I want to do here is let's just go for top 6. Let's clear this out. I want you 3 to very quickly, democratically predict the rest of the season, and we'll see who makes playoffs.
Oh my God, I love this.
So
Look,
you have to be fast, though.
All right.
Energy Dig.
I'm giving it to Dig 2-1.
Yeah.
Dig 2-1?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, that's a unanimous decision. 100 Thieves, Immortals.
Oh, that's a tough one. Dig
Fast.
2-1 as well.
2-1 IMT.
What are you
Okay.
saying?
I was going to say 200 Thieves.
Okay, so was it 2 IMT or 200 Thieves that we saw?
Well, we went 200 Thieves.
Okay,
2-1.
boom.
Yeah, there it is.
C9, TL.
God.
TL2-1.
Just give me the team and I'm going to make it
2-1
2-1.
TL.
Wow. Okay. FlyQuest, Shopify.
Woo, FlyQuest.
FlyQuest, I
yeah.
guess.
Okay,
2-0.
2-0. We have a guest.
Yeah.
Thank you,
we'll be
thank you.
fine.
TL2-0.
Yeah.
Shopify, 100 Thieves.
I'm still going to
Ew.
go 100. I know we got some Shopify believers.
Yeah, I can go 100.
Sure, I
2-1.
can go 100.
Okay. You didn't sound convinced.
I've
2-1.
swayed them. I've swayed them.
FlyQuest, C9.
Woo, FlyQuest.
C9.
C9 2-1.
Okay, never mind.
Oh, sorry, guest privileges revoked. Dignitas and Immortals, final matchup.
We'll go Dig again.
Dig 2-1
Yep, I agree.
or 2-0?
We'll do 2-1.
Okay, that would mean
Are we not gracious?
the
No
overall
tiebreakers.
standings would have no tiebreakers. NRG would make playoffs, and Immortals and Shopify wouldn't make it in. That actually makes sense.
Yeah.
So screenshot this and see how wrong we end up being at the end of the year.
All right,
Because
let me screenshot it right now.
yeah, we're gonna have 2 weeks. down to
Whenever we
playoffs.
do this, we're always wrong.
Yes, I mean it's so
We've never been
impossible
right
to
once.
predict 8 series in a row, especially series score.
It's a tough one.
But with that little game we just played, that would have put Dignitas actually in 4th.
That's surprising.
But who do we actually think is the 4th best team in the league right now?
Okay. I think I can go first,
Okay.
All right.
personally.
Okay.
Because when you said to take a screenshot of it, I did. Because as you would expect, my 4th place team is Dignitas! Guys, we have a lot of hate right now on Dignitas, and maybe I was leading the conversation too heavily, so I may
You
have...
just bullied everybody.
Yeah,
I may have had a bias in mind here, but they had perhaps the, I guess, the most weighted schedule coming into the split, facing all the top teams.
They did.
And now they have the least weighted schedule, the easiest schedule in the back half of it. Now, they failed on the Shopify test, but when Dignitas is now going up against IMT at the end of the split, they're going to be going up against NRG today. That should be very doable. And the only team that we have in mind, I'm just going to go up to the front here.
Okay.
The only team that everyone has in mind is going to be NRG because they are currently at the top with a series lead. But that's a scheduled loss versus Team Liquid. In my mind,
Scheduled loss?
in my mind, it's a scheduled loss, and it puts them, I'll just say a 2-0 for Team Liquid overall. And based off of the scenarios that we had just run on Dignitas, I think it's just going to be an inevitability in which this happens. Just based off the statistics.
Using strength of schedule
And
in your
the-
favor. I appreciate it.
And the last
Yeah.
thing is also just the amount of 3-game losses that they've had. Because when we go into tiebreaker scenarios, the fact that they went into a tiebreaker with, well, 3rd game versus Cloud9 and Team Liquid puts them into a good position against the other teams in this block.
Okay, Basil, what do you think 4th best team?
Maybe Super Copium. I think Immortals is not that bad.
Okay.
And again, I'm riding on some mega copium.
Yeah.
But I think when you watch a team that almost plays like they have nothing to lose, it's so much more exciting, and I have so much more hope for them in placing 4th. Is it possible? I mean, if they win today, I think it is, right? Because they have Dig after, and I'm still rooting for Immortals over Dig at that point, but I think it's possible. You know, they could be 4th place if they clutch a few things
What
up, you
part
know?
of that map do you have faith in?
I think their bot lane's exciting.
Yeah.
You see Tactical Ole, what is there to even like figure out what to do? You know, they'll do something. Either they flip and they really lose, or they really win. You know,
They're entertaining. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And they're also the same record as Dignitas, Raz.
True.
Who are you
Fair.
trying to
True.
say?
IMT season.
True.
Yeah.
Look, that final game of the split's going to be exciting.
Yeah, we'll have to see. 8 matchups left, but the match in front of us is NRG versus Dig. And Huhi, he does not buy into Dig season.
Yeah.
I will say a lot of people aren't buying into Dig season since they are at 1 win currently, aside from Raz, who
That
used
happens.
to,
Yeah.
you know, maybe you had a few previous employment with Dig.
Oh,
Okay, maybe
the bias
swayed
comes
my
through.
ways.
Yeah, I mean, he said this on Pros this past week when I asked, and we had a whole conversation about like who the 4th best team is, and they kind of unanimously decided that it was NRG, right? Like they were like, if any team's gonna punch up, they thought it was Shopify, and then the consensus with the Pros, with Huhi kind of absolving himself of the conversation, was they were like, oh, we kind of think it's NRG, you guys can still maybe make some noise.
Yeah, more pro quotes as well. Inspired does think NRG are the 4th best team. And listen, I'm not just appealing to authority here. I also think NRG are the 4th best team.
Okay.
Because they're in 4th. They have more wins than everybody else.
Mister. All right.
They just,
for now.
If they win today, they can't get lower than 4th.
For now.
No. For the season.
That's your opinion for now.
If they win, they are 4th at least.
That's a fair enough point, Jatt.
But also, let's check out the early game for both of these teams heading into the matchup today. When I was looking at the stats for this, everything about these teams was very, very close.
Yeah.
Neither of them have been that good in the early game. They've both had, obviously, similar records, but incredibly, I'll go through it in the cast as well, but there's very similar stats throughout.
Yeah. And I think the big thing for me with NRG that I did see from their first game against C9, we'll forget about the second game, kind of went south pretty quick at level 1, was that they were a lot more proactive early. They did have a composition that could deal really well with what C9 were throwing at them with their comfort. And until the Baron throw, NRG actually looked pretty in control of that game, which they still threw Baron, but.
Yeah, it's unclean. Both of them are unclean. It is what it is, as you can see from the average goal difference at 14 for both these teams. For NRG's side, I think a lot of the times it comes to the individual. When they faced Cloud9 last week, like, people want to wipe game 2 out of the memory based off of the first, like the level 1 and the laning phase in game 2, but they've had close games. But just in general, it's been nice to see these teams start to level up. But Jatt, I heard that you caught up with both of the coaches looking into the series, so let's check in on that.
I did. Thank you, Amir, ThinkCard, and Mabry ahead of today's matches. A lot of playoff implications today. For you, ThinkCard, a win actually locks you guys playoffs. How much importance are you putting on today's match?
It definitely means a lot to win today because next week we're against TL. We still think we can beat TL, obviously, but it would be nice to lock it in right now so that we can know that we're going to be in playoffs and we can start prepping for who we might play against going into playoffs.
And Mabry, I know last week probably wasn't what you guys expected, but what's the confidence level like going into today?
I would say we're feeling pretty confident. Obviously, last week was definitely a rough game. We were expecting to win that one, but if we play our game today, I think we should be in a fine state. So
I happen to remember when Dignitas won earlier against Shopify, I was talking to Zven and he actually thanked NRG for the confidence boost in scrims. And I know this was a month ago. What's the level of confidence now playing against Dignitas on stage instead of in scrims?
The level of confidence for Dignitas is
against NRG, because in the past, Zven thanked them for the confidence boost in scrims.
Yeah. If we're judging on scrims, I mean, we should be very confident going to the game today. So,
have scrims improved for NRG in or against Dignitas?
I mean, we've been doing a lot better against everyone. I think against them, they have like a really weird style in scrims, but on stage, like, we know that when we play our game, we win.
All right, well, let's see who wins today. Thanks, guys, for the interview. Did that change your opinions?
No.
Let's check out our pre-submitted predictions then.
Yes. I wonder
for
if we've got
Dignitas NRG.
Dig season
believers. Okay, I was the only one.
Emily.
Who flipped? Yeah.
Explain yourself.
I actually did like a lot of the things I saw from NRG in the C9 series. Obviously, most of those things were in game 1.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like their comp as much in game 2, even after that level 1 happened, or even before that level 1 happened, rather. But I don't know, just based on feel.
Fingers crossed that we get a fun, competitive series. That's it for us from the lounge. Let's toss up to stage to get into the games.
I will not back down. If you hit me, I'll hit you back.
What season is it right now? Dig season.
We're gonna 2-0 them very easily.
Oh, he kind of like stole my whole flow.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the LCS for Summer 2024. Later today, 100 Thieves and Immortals go head-to-head in a battle to climb the standings as time runs out on the regular season. But first, Big Dig are looking to bring it back after last week's loss against an NRG team still looking to find some of that summer magic that we've seen in the past. I'm Captain Flowers, joined by Jatt for this series, and Emily Rand rounding out the TriCast here for our first game. It's the Analyst Lounge, except I'm not an analyst. How y'all doing today?
Don't sell yourself short.
What?
I was good at Swarm analysis.
You were great at it.
Yeah. You gave us a breakdown on
We're not
the
playing
Analyst
Swarm today, though.
Lounge.
No, we're not.
We are playing on Summoner's Rift, and we do have two teams that both really, really want to win today.
We do. When I was looking at these two teams, their actual stats are so close to each other, aside from number of wins on the season. NRG is actually in a really good position here because they already have those 2 match wins. A win would clinch them playoffs, and actually, I think, guarantee them top 4 because it moves them to 3 wins.
Right.
So, very important stuff for them here as they go up against Dignitas, who we're waiting to see if Dignitas can turn it on because their schedule was so hard at the start of the year.
Okay, we're into draft. Very important. Going to go ahead and call this out. We are on patch 14.15 this week. Aurora is enabled. Not just enabled, she's not micro-patch nerfed. So you can see her first ban there on red side. This was previously the Skarner spot earlier on this year. It is probably going to be the Aurora spot, at least for this week, because the champion, anytime a micro-patch nerf has to come out, it generally means the character is very strong. So Dig's going to ban that alongside the Sejuani and Senna, while Nidalee and Lilia are banned out, those powerful AP junglers alongside the Cassante from NRG.
Yeah, and some pretty good targeted bans. Obviously, NRG wants to remove the Nidalee and Lilia away from Spica, and then the kind of comfort of the Cassante. Whereas I still think NRG are one of our better or best Senna teams with FBI, and then removing the Sedge from Contractz, who can do a lot with that champion. Rumble first pick, though, presumably for Dholka in the top lane.
I think so. I think that'll also pair really well with a Tristana or a Corki mid for Palafox, so a very standard, balanced team composition for them. The big thing that this will allow them to do, though, is maybe have a little bit more push in the top lane. That is something that has been a struggle for NRG. They played so much around their bottom side this year that Dholka is definitely kind of on an island up there a lot of the time, and he's been struggling a bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dignitas is going to go ahead and secure themselves that Ivern as the first pick. This champion has become a little bit more popular recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ivern is actually really, really strong. Contractz, interestingly enough, for NRG is a known Ivern player, as well as Armeo in the LCS. They did not end up first picking it, and it fell out of the draft. That's actually been something that people have been banning against NRG pretty frequently. And we've seen Ivern be so successful, especially with so many AD carry compositions. And we talked about how, yes, Kraken Slayer got nerfed, LDR and Mortal Reminder got nerfed. There are some targeted itemization changes against AD carries on this patch. As we see the Maokai locked in for Contractz, some really excellent combination with Rumble potential there. But Ivern is just so great at keeping your carries safe and buffing them, and he's just really annoying, honestly. Really, really annoying if you're playing against him.
Especially in a world with, like you're talking about, every team composition these days having 2 different marksmen. This guy just exists to facilitate those marksmen. But it will be tree versus tree here in the jungle as we have that Lucian locked in for NRG. Not surprised at all to see this. You've got some of that mid lane power there from that mid lane marksman alongside the big AP heavy hitter with the top side Rumble. We'll see how well Palafox can pilot this.
Definitely the more aggressive choice in terms of the Tristana, Corki, Zeri, Lucian combos that we're seeing in the mid lane, but it is generally what we expected with the Rumble top lane, an AD pick that is, we're 90% this is going to go mid, even though there is a world where they'd go Lucian Nami and then still throw a Trist or Corki mid lane, so it's a bit of a flex pick, which NRG can still pull off from the blue side, but not too surprising.
All right, let's see what we get here. I'm also very curious. A lot of times recently here in the LCS, when Lucian mid has been picked, it's picked alongside a Bard support or something similar that is constantly going to be roaming, allowing Lucian to use that pressure that he needs to exert in order to be valuable as a pick. So I'm curious if the support role is going to be targeted more by Dig here in the second half of the draft with the bans. Jhin banned away, so they don't want to deal with that one. Let's see what NRG has up their sleeves.
Yeah, Jhin taken off the table. And I am super curious to see on the side of NRG. You mentioned how Lucian can be a flex. I still fully expect it to go mid as Trist is removed.
Same.
That pairs, again, even with the Trist individual nerfs, even with the itemization nerfs, Trist just pairs so well with Ivern, and especially when she's a mid, allows you to mow down turrets so quickly once you actually push out, get mid prio, and get a ton of turret plays off of her in tandem with the Ivern.
I didn't know the Poro hats were out of stock, personally.
I didn't either.
Yeah, we're top people are on it at this point.
This is a tragedy. We got to get more Poro hats back here in the shop, but it is Kalista banned out alongside that Jen. So double marksman targeting from Dignitas in the second half of the draft. Do you think they're also just going to try to get rid of the Corki or another one of these mid lane potential marksmen here for NRG, or something else?
I think it makes the most sense in terms of limiting the amount of options they have mid lane. Jensen doesn't strike me as Zeri player. So he definitely has a lot of quirky games in the past, and it's just trying to keep him off of comfort. This does actually open the window, unless he plays Zeri, for a mage pick. Like I do know, even though it's not traditionally a good matchup, that like Jensen's had a lot of really good Azir or Orianna games against Lucian mid. So we'll see if he just goes back to control mage city or if he actually pulls out the Zeri for what I think would be the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, Jensen Zeri mid.
Jensen Zeri.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Interesting.
I'm a little bit concerned because in the past, we've always seen Jensen excel on what we think of when we think traditional mid laner, right? The control mages, those evergreen picks. He's struggled a bit. I still remember back to the era of solo lane Viego. And all of Jensen's teammates wishing that would no longer be the meta because he's struggled adapting to it. So I'm curious how well he'll be able to pilot this Zeri as somebody who has been, such a clutch player in situations. Ezreal Braum for NRG.
Your favorite boy.
Baby, he's back. They tried to kill him. They tried to squash him. They knocked him back down to a lower pick rate than before we got reworked. But he's still here. He's ready to rock. With the rock, we got Skarner locked in for Big Dig.
That is very surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because he has been eviscerated by nerfs and completely dropped out of the meta, but this is a window where, their topside damage is comically low now with Skarner Ivern up against a Rumble.
It's vibes, man.
And also, like, we talked about Rumble being already something that when Skarner was absolutely giga broken, was something that people were like, well, because of his pushing power, because of his damage, he can be an alright counter. It was the Rumble and the Mordekaiser that we saw people workshopping the most. And now this is post-nerf Skarner picked into a Rumble.
Quite a grin you've got talking about this Skarner. Yeah, you're. I'm beginning to think there might be a little bit of questionable drafting going on based on the look on your face. So let me just ask you guys then, do you both think that NRG won the draft, or is there an angle here for Dignitas?
I just like NRG's draft because, again, it's easy to execute. It has a lot of, especially with the Maokai, it has a lot of the things that you saw them do well against with when they went up against C9 last week in that first game. It has a lot of the same kind of harbingers to this comp as well. So if they can, play better around Baron, play better around those mid to late game team fights and objective setups, then I do favor NRG's comp.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Summoner's Rift for the first time today in this best of three between NRG and Dignitas. Jensen piloting that mid lane Zeri, not a pick that we would have been expecting out of him. And Licorice also choosing the Skarner despite the suite of nerfs the champion has endured. I think the solo lanes for Dig are the big question mark here in this first game.
So, we are on patch 14.15.
Yep.
Okay.
And Skarner was technically buffed on patch 14.15.
Sure.
I don't like the word technically.
Well, so here's the buffs. Health growth increased to 110 from 105. That's 5 health per level, man.
Wowee.
Sure.
By level 18, that's almost 100.
It's almost a fraction of a ruby crystal.
Armor growth increased to 5 from 4.8. So at level 5, that's a whole 1 armor.
I can bet that's got to be at least 13 gold worth of armor. That's like an entire
the Shattered Earth mana cost was reduced by 5 from 50 to 45. But then I think the first empowered attack after casting Shattered Earth now declares the automatic basic attack more quickly and smoothly.
Okay.
So quickness and smoothness. But previously from that, he was heavily nerfed in patch 14.13, which did remove him from the game. But there could be something cooking there that Licorice, he just tried him again after the buffs and thinks it's good.
I mean, I hope it's good. I want to see what Licorice has cooking. We'll see how many good angles he can find. Now that the champion is no longer just OP as a ball of stats, he's going to really need to look for good angles with that Ishtal impact to be able to start up fights. He'll need those multi-ultis if he really wants to have the impact in the team fight that'll justify the pick.
Yeah, that's a big thing for me. It's just with the nerfs that came down, as we see, Zven is getting really low.
Wow. Okay, popping the cleanse immediately to make sure that he does not get locked up any further, but NRG's bottom lane duo immediately taking control.
Well, especially Braum Ezreal is not exactly your level 2 power spike, time to bully the Ashe lane.
Yeah.
So that's an outplay there early on by FBI and Huhi. Zven. Also, neither of these AD carries bringing teleport to get back to lane quickly. I will say the wave's crashing pretty slow, so he's still going to catch most of this, but it's still a great early start for the NRG bot.
Yeah, and as we look at Ezreal really briefly, them laughing at each other in bot lane, he did get that Q like reversion. So for just to remind people, he was like technically nerfed, but it was the reversal of the buff he'd received about 2 patches ago. We had at that point already seen him pre-buff played in LCK. Yeah. He looked still really, really good. But that was kind of to stop him being so ubiquitous in every single draft.
What does ubiquitous mean?
Always there.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Look, chat, I have to make sure that I ask.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's.
I'm so sorry.
That's like a $10 word. I've heard it before. I never bothered to know what it meant, so I figured we all might as well learn something, or at least the other people that also don't know what it means.
I used to be a writer in another lifetime. You know?
No, I respect it. I'm happy to learn something here today. We're just watching junglers clear their camps anyway, so we might as well use the time that we've got, as the junglers are just trading scuttlecrafts.
I do think this should be a new thing. I think, Emily, you should challenge yourself to use like non-ubiquitous words.
Oh, well, look at that. Hey, he's hooked on phonics.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then if that happens, you can define it during the cast. It's like everyone wants to do the like word of the day thing to improve their vocabulary, but no one actually sticks to it. So it could be your thing. Here's a gank.
Oh, Licorice trying to bring Dholka back towards Spica, but the problem is Licorice might also be in some trouble. Dholka overheats. The shield is there. Spica might just be able to get it done, and yes, he will. It's first blood for the Ivern.
And that's actually huge. The fact that they were able to keep the Rumble from bullying this lane. They trade flashes, which would make a repeat gank more likely. I think if they bring something like the Leona up there, very successful there. The gold going over to Spica, not super ideal. I want to see if we get a gank here from Maokai, though, with no cleanse on Zven. Too hard to get to.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's really going to work out. Or
going
maybe.
for a wraparound.
Hold on. FBI and Huhi going forward now. Flash coming out from Huhi to tag him there as Contractz wants to go in. He finds Twisted Advance. Remember, Zven is in really dire straits, and he's already down. FBI taking the kill as Spica shows up. Maybe they can get one back here as Huhi's already down to 100 HP. He is ignited, and he just can't fight it, but he can. The Unbreakable goes up, and Huhi stands tall. NRG tie up the kill.
And Huhi managed to live despite it all. You can really see why I think when the Ivern is not on my team as an AD carry main, I'm like, man, he's so annoying, you know? But really nice response from Contractz. One of the things that I've been pretty critical of this NRG team is I thought when they had so much more success, as we take a look at the top lane gank, from Spica looking ahead here.
That's just the smoothness of the Skarner there, being able to E him back to his jungler very early. He had been losing the lane, though, which is why he had to flash to safety. And then this fight in the bottom lane as well that we're just talking about, the full committal, just getting the original Q tag, a nice skill shot on the second Q, which actually ended up being pretty pivotal based on the fact that Spica came back for the counter gank on the other side, so they end up trading these kills. One other important note about that first blood by Dig, they have been really struggling in the early game. This is only their third first blood of the entire split that they pulled off there in the top lane.
That is not a very impressive number. 8th of 8.
This includes this game. This was 2 of 12 before.
Okay, that is good to know. That is certainly not the kind of first blood stat you're looking for, but it's also the first step in turning that number around.
Oh yeah.
And I was just saying before we saw those replays, the other thing that I've wanted from NRG is that same kind of early aggressiveness from Contractz. I think one of the things that a lot of AP farming junglers have done, and just general jungle XP changes mean less lane interaction overall, or that lane interaction can sometimes be more punishing. But I thought this NRG team was always at their best when Contractz was able to interact with his lanes early.
All right, let's check in on mid, because we've kind of been watching everywhere else so far in the early game. Haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to what's going on here, because honestly, it's kind of a handshake. Just farm the minions back and forth. There's not really a whole lot of focus here.
And I think that would mean Jensen's playing that lane fairly well, since oftentimes the Lucian is picked to play aggressive early. And look out!
Oh no, Skarner, I think you're dead, buddy. Dholka just walks up and cooks him. It's a 2-1 game for NRG.
At that point, the Maokai almost seems excessive. Right?
Yeah,
he's already dead. As we see Jensen.
Yeah, Jensen's ready to keep this one going. Wants to keep that aggression towards Palafox, but not a whole lot more to find. Spica showing up behind him just to guarantee that he can play this out as aggressively as need be, but no way that's going to be a good.
Yeah, it will be nice because it puts the lane in a really nice state for Jensen as we see how much Dholka is actually getting off the top side, off of that gank, right? It really resets him in his favor. Rumble pushes in this matchup. Again, that was one of the things where you were looking at how does he go up against the previous Giga Broken Skarner. That was always one of the things that they were looking at from him, and so Dholka getting those advantages topside is really good as well. As we see Dig starting up the Drake.
Yeah, it is looking like the original mid lane gank by Spica that pushed Palafox back gives them the window to take this Drake, not to mention their bot lane was able to move up. So nice bit of a trade. The Grubs in the top laner died for the Drake on the bot side for Dignitas. Still a pretty close game.
And honestly, yeah, the first 9 minutes have a little bit of trading back and forth, but nobody's really running away with it yet, which kind of brings us back to, you know, what we were talking about before we really got into the draft and got into the game. And Jatt, you mentioned it. If NRG ends up winning this series, they're going to feel great, like heading heading towards playoffs, heading towards the end of the regular split. Dignitas, on the other hand, we were talking about their strength of schedule. We were talking about this team and the fact that they already have all the tough opponents out of the way. The end should be an easier run for them compared to most other squads. But after losing to Shopify last week, they really need to step up.
Yeah, this just increases the pressure for this game, and you're always worried about that with Dignitas when they're looking at the tail end of their schedule after facing a bunch of really big teams, and they'd almost expect to win against Shopify. Like, yes, they did get 2-0'd, but those were two very close games, especially the second one against Shopify last week. So Dignitas, they just need to, it sounds cliche, but step up, because they were actually very good against the top teams. They had one win against FlyQuest, one win against Team Liquid. They just haven't been able to close out enough series, so now would be the time. But then they're up against this NRG team who's been improving throughout the split. So even though it may look like they're playing one of the weaker teams, they're actually playing against one of the only teams with 2 wins in the whole split. They're in 4th place right now.
Well, I think it's also easy to recognize, like, every single person on this NRG team has won a title.
Yeah.
Every single person but Isles on Dignitas has also won a title. So
9 out of 10.
Yeah, so there's just like a lot of experience on both teams, which is why I think when you ask players to evaluate, like, oh, how good are these rosters sometimes, a lot of it is like, oh, well, they're not playing well right now, but we know that they know how to win because we've seen it before.
Well, we're going to get much of a scrap up here. A couple of projectiles being traded back and forth, but really not a whole lot. Remember that NRG got the first 3 grubs. Now they are starting up the second set. They've got a 4-man squad already ready to go here, but Dignitas is ready to maybe make the pincer attack here with Jensen coming up from the side. Immediate engage from Isles, but he's already nearly dead. He gets healed up by the Redemption. It's clutch to keep him alive as Huhi also has to flash away. NRG staying alive, kiting out, fighting out against Daisy. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, it's a 1v1 at the same time as Benny's the calling back up here in the top side. River with the equalizer, finding its way on the Licorice in the bottom side as the Void Grubs 5-1 secured for NRG in the top fight.
Dignitas unable to prevent the Grubs from being taken completely, and an important part about why they fought in the bot lane is both those laners had teleport. So I think Licorice was staying dangerously close to Dholka to prevent him from TPing, and then was able to avoid getting solo killed. So that was a dicey situation for Dignitas to try and contest. They don't win it, but at least it wasn't a total disaster.
Well, and that's pretty good on Licorice, right? Obviously, we didn't see how that scrap in the bot lane started, but if Rumble does end up joining this fight and just laying an equalizer across that Maokai ult, Dig ends up looking a lot worse coming out of that. As it is, NRG will get that 4 grub spike, having got 5 grubs. As we take a look at, I want to watch like what's going on up here too, right? Yeah, so Licorice was trying to just stop Dholka from joining.
Yeah, and Dholka had a nice control word in the bush to force Licorice from stepping up. So nice little game of cat and mouse there. Gets the flash for his ultimate, which will be up quickly. And an important flash burn by Jensen mid lane there. It puts Dignitas in a really difficult position, because let's look at the way these lanes are actually playing out. Jensen losing to Lucian, Skarner losing to Rumble, and their bot lane pushed in as well. So where does that, like, Ivern is just going to fall further and further behind. And it's on NRG to actually make the proactive plays here, because this means they'll have first setup on any Rift Herald or any Drake, and they also have a really inside track to getting first turret of the game.
Yeah, and you talk about how this composition works, right? Like it's Maokai, it's 280 carries, it's Rumble. We've seen this a lot, and it is really nice and easy to execute.
Ooh, nice interception there on the arrow from Huhi, but the problem is he might just have to pay for it with his own life. The redemption called in for the extra little bit of damage. Zven is grabbing the first kill as Contractz wants to get one back. Equalizer finally comes down over the top as Palafox drops the culling, but Isles is ready to re-engage here with the Zenith Blade. Spica falls, FBI grabbing the kill on that one. NRG, they got another one, and now Isles could be the next in line. First Electro Harpoon ain't gonna find the mark. Jensen provides covering fire. Isles makes his retreat.
I think Dig should be very happy that that was just a 1-for-1, because there's a couple crucial things that happened here. So originally, when you cleanse this Leona R, Huhi's going to regret stepping in front of this Ashe arrow, because there's actually a 70% CC reduction that you get post-cleanse that would have allowed FBI to actually almost immune that Ashe arrow, but instead, Huhi gets stunned the entire time, and they're able to kill him. However, on the tail end of this fight, when the Rumble actually does teleport in, watch the harpoons that he misses both of, that either one could have secured the kill onto Isles.
Yeah, and you had Palafox and Jensen both coming up. Palafox looks like he's going to be in trouble. Flashes out, is also able to get out with both Isles and Jensen kind of on him. So split fight does work out surprisingly well for Dignitas, I would say.
It really does, and it means we have Drake now up, only the second Drake of the game, but everyone here except for Licorice. So NRG is going to want to start this to try and get the Licorice TP out. He does have the Skarner ultimate if there's a contest to be had, and instead looks like Dignitas is just going to give it up.
All right. Not going to fight for that one. Means that NRG are going to be the overall winners of the early on neutral objective battle, with the Drakes going even, but a 5-to-1 grub split in their favor, as Isles not really worried about any sort of real threat on his life from Huhi and FBI, considering how tanky the Leona is. Palafox is going to continue applying the pressure here in the 1v1 against Jensen, but Dholka's ready to turn this into not a 1v1 if he gets the opportunity. Is recalling on a ward, though.
And this is actually giving a lot of free time for Licorice. I mean, he's been up top lane for quite some time now. They might end up getting, he's teleporting in behind for a gank.
Oh, nice solar flare, immediate engage coming out from Isles. The equalizer trying to cover his own escape, but Dholka's still very, very low. Licorice trying to put the enemy jungler in a bad spot, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. The Skarner and the Maokai both going to be traded back as NRG and Dignitas break even here in this big scrap.
And even though Licorice was able to TP into that fight, he immediately just took damage, right? And he was able to get in, get the apprehend, as we see, going on Zven.
Yeah, honestly, really important to have dodged that Winter's Bite.
Yeah.
I think that very easily could have been a kill otherwise, considering both summoner spells were down.
This is not a good game for Zven at the moment. Still down both summoners, losing mid-prio at every step. FBI not getting any weaker. Call just cashed in as well for an extra bit of bonus gold. But we're going to watch this fight one more time, where Dig was really hoping this was going to be their big play. They're one, teleporting in to defend the turret, but more importantly, really trying to clean up kills here. Great Leona ult to start as the Skarner approaches.
Yeah, we get the Leona ult down, but then we also get the Maokai Rumble response. And Licorice, even though he is able to suppress Contractz, right? He's taking damage that entire time. So they NRG end up trading that back. Palafox is going to get this bot lane turret now.
And Dignitas needs more time. I think the thing with Licorice is he's had to lane against this Rumble, so he's just stacked magic resist, but then he teleports in and gets culled by Lucian Ezreal.
Yeah.
And he's got no armor. That, even though it got buff flowers by 0.2 per level, he still melts.
By God, I just don't know. I don't understand, Jatt. How does it happen?
He had 55 more health than last patch going into that fight.
Look at Flower's face. He was really counting on that health.
Yeah, I honestly can't believe that's almost enough to survive half of a Blade of the Ruined King proc, but it just still wasn't.
It wasn't enough.
As Palafox, this might not be enough either. Licorice not gonna hit his ulti. Palafox honestly playing this beautifully. He's still alive for now. He sidesteps another zap. There's no way he lives, right? Finally, the kill comes through for Dignitas. Palafox fought that one tooth and nail, ultimately still falls, and Dig takes the kill plus the turret.
But a big investment there actually takes a little bit of extra time, so the Rift Herald pops mid lane. They've already killed the top turret. They want to break mid here as well.
Yeah, NRG should be able to break mid, and as you said, Jatt, Dholka is still pushing on tier 2. He's going to rotate down now. We'll see if they end up doing anything else after getting this mid tier 2. But that also just opens up the map so much more now for NRG. They're up 3-1 in turrets. The Drake stacking is in neither team's favor since they each have one, but just having this open map, especially for these two AD carries, is massive.
I really do think NRG is ahead in this game, but I will say, when we were seeing Skarner a lot, he seemed to just win games because of his ability to take up space in team fights.
Yes.
So I think if he gets a little bit of armor and Jensen and Zven can complete a few more items, that's the hope that Dignitas is holding on to. It's just going to be really difficult because of the amount of control that NRG has on the map.
And additionally, I mean, Dig do have a lot of pick potential, right? With their composition, we've seen when they have been able to split up fights potentially and isolate someone, that is where, you know, the Zeri can come in and be really strong. The Skarner can come in and be really strong. So that's kind of their window to success now for me, is either making picks so then it's a 4v5, or splitting up a team fight enough that you can pick off people individually and not run into the NRG kind of wombo combo.
And one thing I'm going to be looking for from Licorice in particular, if we're talking about this Skarner and how to succeed in the fights, remember that Skarner's E reduces its cooldown by almost 2/3 if you slam someone into a wall with it. So I feel like if Dignitas is going to take a longer fight, if it's going to be something more than just a pick, Licorice is going to need to get these angles, time those E's right, and make sure that he's getting those wallbang resets. Otherwise, his ability to create that space like we're talking about back when Skarner did dominate the meta is going to be greatly hampered.
Yeah, but I'm also just looking 10 seconds until this next Drake, and there is not very many good approaches for them into this. But what we do have to look at is these two wards, because maybe they could try a flank if they want to contest this. Knowing, though, that NRG only has one Drake, this is definitely the one you give up.
All right.
Yeah.
It looks like...
and they're just gonna give it up.
Yep, that's the name of the game. All right, one Ocean Drake, no big deal. Give that one away. NRG up one Drake, up 1,500 gold, 20 minutes into the game. Honestly, considering some of the games that we've seen so far here in Summer Split, this one's really, really close.
Yeah.
I think so, and honestly, I was trying to find differences with these two teams in the stats flowers before this game, so I'd have interesting things to talk about during the cast.
Okay, what do you got?
They're the same.
Oh.
Like, they're
the
so
same?
close. So we have all these stats like close percentage, major lead percentage, major deficit percentage, and every time I was ranking like first to last in the LCS, NRG and Dig would be right next to each other. Like, those percentages were just the same. The only differences that I found between these two teams was that Dholka doesn't get the same level of jungle attention that Licorice did, and that Contractz liked to camp bottom lane. But then even in this game, they moved top lane a bit and started ganking more for Dholka, so it was probably kind of the same. So I am not surprised that this game is 4 kills to 4 with only a 1,000 gold difference.
All right, there's a 1,000 gold difference, but there, in terms of role, is a 1,600 advantage in the bottom lane marksman position. FBI over Zven, the Ezreal versus the Ashe. That is the largest gold advantage for a single player compared to his counterpart. So keep your eyes on FBI and what he might be able to accomplish in this upcoming fight. Solar Flare with the arrow, both going to be used here at the same time as the Skarner ulti grabs two. Nicely done there from Licorice, Huhi having to try to get away. He still survives, and now Licorice is getting cooked. He's got to try to stay alive somehow. beautiful Ishtal impact right back into the wall. That's what I'm talking about. You get that stun, you have some fun. Dignitas, 1 for nothing.
And that's the Skarner presence in those team fights. He's the front line. The buffs might have actually saved him there. We'll have to check the tapes for the math with his health and the extra armor. But that was so clutch by Dig, withstanding the Rumble ultimate with the redemption from the Ivern and then turning it around on Dholka at the end. Very well played by Licorice.
Yeah, and they recognize with NRG all concentrated here that they can try to get a pick. Just watch Licorice coming in. This is so
Double
great.
suppressed.
Yeah, even with the Maokai ult coming off of the back and Dholka showing up in time to separate them and do damage, you think Licorice might go down, immediately gets the suppress, shoves Dholka into a wall. Good stuff.
And one of the big things there, he has Fimble Winter completed. If you notice the shields popping up, spamming the way that they did, that's not just Skarner's W, that's not just Seismic Bastion, that's the Fimble Winter next to it. This is an incredibly synergistic item on the champion. Back when he was really strong, back when he was meta, you saw people building this all the time in top lane for a damn good reason.
Yeah.
It lets him spam out those shields constantly, and it gives him so much survivability in fight.
And you were really good at answering this question before. Like, what is his shield scale off of?
Health.
What is the Thimblewinter shield scale off of?
Health.
What is... I think some of his damage...
Health.
Okay, everything scales off of health.
I feel like if Dig win, we need to bring back he's the best champ in the game.
I'm pretty sure producers still have that. Just
They
locked
definitely
away
do.
in
I
some sort of-
expect them to spam it now, actually, that I just said that.
Some sort of panic button somewhere has that allocated to it. But so far, Licorice has been a part of 4 out of 5 of the team's kills. That is the second highest. Thank
There
you,
we go.
producers. Yes. Second highest KP on the team. It is Spica, the only player on Dignitas that has been a part of everything. 2-1-3 on the Ivern. Honestly, having a really good game so far.
Great takeaway in this match because we know Contractz would have picked it early on in the draft phase if Spica didn't take it right away. And I think what the Ivern is also enabling is this Jensen Zeri. It's the first time we've ever seen him play Zeri. He decided to do it instead of a control mage matchup against the Lucian. And he's in a position now where he's the one that should carry this game. He's got a 30 CS advantage on the Lucian. He's got 1.2 thousand gold against his mid lane counterpart, and he's in a position where he's got to step up and carry.
And you know, back with what I was talking about in draft, Jensen is somebody who before has come under fire for not being able to adapt when the meta has big shifts, big swings, big changes, whatever you want to call them. So to see him being 2-0-1 on this champion, which would not fit into his stereotypical pool, is a very good sign for Dignitas.
Yeah. As we see both Baron and Drake setup going on. NRG did push out, so they have pretty good vision. Dig has that ward back in the pit. And now it looks like they should have pretty good control over Drake if they want to go for it.
Yeah,
as Dig are now posturing around Baron.
The thing is, Dig can also start threatening Baron, and this is the first time they've actually had a little bit of control on the map because they're at least pushing out the top side and clearing vision in the Baron River. It will allow Palafox to solo this Drake if NRG just kind of bluffs for a little bit here. The danger with bluffing, though, is at any moment an arrow could fly out from Ashe and try and start a team fight.
All right, Palafox got that Drake to about almost half HP. The rest of the team just trying to place.
They saw him with Ashe arrow, so they should engage in the mid.
Okay, hold on. Palafox now throwing the calling out towards Licorice, who's coming down to stop him from taking the Drake, or at least try to contest it. Dholka's gonna make his way down, so Licorice cannot get any closer. Drake secured for energy there on the first point.
Digger starting up the Baron.
Yeah, Dignitas onto Baron. A TP's coming in. It's a full 5-man play from the Dignitas squad. Energy has to try to answer this. They cannot be caught just letting this slip away. Daisy down to 500 HP. Solar Player ain't gonna find any hard CC. Immediately though, Licorice with a beautiful pick as Jensen gets a killing spree and Palafox falls. Contractz in the middle of everybody. And Jensen is caught out and shut down. Licorice here on the front line. But again, he's got to endure the wrath of FBI. Immediate counter engage coming out from Miles here with the Zenith Blade. Another 1-for-1 trade going down with a 3v3 still ready to go. The volley fires off. It ain't gonna be enough. Another kill comes through as Licorice is ready to stand and fight, but it ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna work. Dholka with a triple kill. NRG with a 4-for-2.
What a fight! Back and forth the entire time. The idea was right. for Dignitas. Use the dragon to give yourself the start on Baron and look to peel. And Licorice sees the teleport coming in to start the fight.
Yeah, watch Licorice. He gets right onto Palafox. This is exactly what you want the Skarner to do. Palafox immediately gets deleted. Jensen goes in and then just gets bodied.
Really poor re-engage there by Jensen, because if he's in the back line to do damage here, Dignitas runs this game. And even now it looks like they can finish, but when Zven flashes forward and doesn't get that kill onto FBI, it allows Dholka to just burn them up. And that is the face of a stressed coach.
Yeah, somebody check ThinkCard's blood pressure, please. I don't know if this man's all right. Oh, hold on. I don't know if FBI's all right either. Prophet of Clan's getting away from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Is now Isles is here on the front line and nobody else is around. Nobody's coming to save him. Nobody's coming to bail him out. First kill goes over to NRG. Daisy not surviving much longer. Licorice still maybe looking for an angle here. NRG's low on health. Jensen still looking to free fire. Picks up the first one. Huhi's going to drop. Lots of bodies hitting the floor. Dignitas just got 4. Contractz, the last one standing, and the boy is gone. Dignitas 5 for 1.
If at first you fly in and die on Zeri, fly in and try again, because you're going to ace NRG. It looks like they could actually take this, kill the turrets, and actually end the game.
Oh my God, and it's incredible the amount that they are going to get off of this victory here in the mid lane. The 5 for 1. They don't have Baron. They don't need it. It's 5 seconds on Huhi, but it'll be another 15 before anybody else is back alive. Licorice tanks the turret. He protects the minions. There's not going to be any backdoor protection coming up now. There's no way that Braum can stand and do it all on his own. Huhi's just going to give over another kill for free. Dignitas take out NRG in game number 1.
And once again, it comes down to these crucial mid to late game team fights that NRG do not win. Last time against C9 in game 1, it was that Baron. This time in the mid lane, I feel like I owe Licorice and Skarner an apology.
Yeah!
I was not familiar with their game.
And Jensen also kind of shook his head at the end walking off stage there, because he felt like he threw the game a minute after he won the game.
You throw it and then you catch it.
Just
Exactly.
Zeri things, you know?
Just Zeri things, I guess. First Zeri game, first Zeri win for Jensen, and as you saw at the end there, 1 win away from drastically increasing their playoff chances.
Just like we talked about at the start of the game back in the draft, NRG already has those 2 series wins, so they're feeling all right. After that loss to Shopify last week, Dignitas, they're motivated. They got to be hungry to get this, because if you drop this one, all of a sudden, everything is very dire heading into the final week.
And I think it's a tough loss for NRG, honestly, because the way they had control of this game, they felt like they were in a clear winning position for 20 minutes before they lost.
All right, a reminder to all y'all, Fantasy LCS is happening over on Sleeper, so make sure you lock in your picks and bans for next week's games if you want to top your league. Now, we're heading on over to the LCS Lounge, which might just be Raz and Basil, to break that one down. Hell yeah.
You're damn right, it's me and Basil.
Hello.
So first thoughts on it, of course, you just were able to consume that game.
What happened?
So we load in a draft. You see those 2 comps. Who are you leaning towards?
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I thought it was over when I saw the mid lane Zeri pick. I just, you know, it works sometimes, doesn't work all the time.
Yeah.
And love my boy Jensen, but that kind of scared me. So I thought it was over. I thought it was like for sure NRG win, you know, scripted win. But
Yes.
I don't know what just happened in the past 10 minutes. I actually have no idea what just happened.
Let's remind a lot of the people out there. I wanted to actually talk about Grubs, because just going into the draft, I actually favored what NRG had to offer. Double AD carry with Braum. Easy disengage for what Dignitas was trying to throw at them. So immediately I like the fact that they're forcing him to walk through this checkpoint. And on top of that, Zeri is in no man's land here. So as you can see, Zeri is trying to come in the flank. She actually should have been dropping the midway so she could be topside. Leona somehow survives, but I think it's incredibly difficult for a Leona to try and find any kind of engage onto a Braum with Lucian Ezreal. Trying to find that backline is really next to impossible. I thought Contractz did a great job throwing out his Maokai ulti too at the right time of the engage. And they were able to get 5 grubs on an AD carry comp like that, double AD.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard for that Leona to play this game in general. You basically have to sacrifice most of your summoners, if not your entire champion, into their team and just hope your team can do something. I think the only thing that was kind of what was the deciding factor for
Yeah.
Dig is the fact that Zeri's ult is in such a such a low cooldown
Yeah.
that honestly, if an engage does work, you do have follow-up. But after watching that Rumble play that happened, where I believe 4 people got completely wiped, I thought it was over. I actually thought it was just NRG win.
Let's play out the game-winning team fight for Dignitas, because just before this play ends up happening, Jensen does send himself in the fight around Baron. But then the engage was really hard for Dignitas to lock down, but just like walk through this team fight, because one thing that I looked at was Lucian trying to go in for ulti range, getting hit by Zeri ulti immediately afterwards, and then they just get chased down.
Yeah, I don't think they expected to get hit by so much damage from Zeri, especially this flash here. I thought this flash was a bit aggressive, and I was unsure if Jensen would actually survive this, but that on top of Ashe slow and an Ivern that can really just like hold you as Zeri, this is like completely just, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That great chase down potential you already mentioned, like Skarner himself, of course, not getting played because of how heavy the nerfs actually was, and as you can see from the damage, if this looks like an NRG win, but then you see the sharp dip in the goal difference over time at the very tail end of the game. It's nuts. It's nuts. I hope in this game goes to game 3. How about you?
No, I agree. I think these like super scrappy games are super fun, especially with these two teams where you want to see both of them do well because they both have really good players. I think it's fun to watch it go to a game 3.
Yeah, hopefully we go to a game 3. Remember, playoff implications, both these teams are trying to be at that top 6 position. NRG did select blue side. Let's go straight into the break, and after this one, we get right into game 2.
Put your hands together for Jensen and Zven!
Height doesn't matter because it's not about how tall or how short you are, it's about who you are on the inside.
He's laughing, he doesn't believe it.
No, but also tall people more likely to die faster, so good luck to you. What does height not matter? What else can I say about that?
That's all you had?
I mean, I didn't really come prepared for this one. This one was like, you kind of hit me with like one I didn't expect. Height doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know how to argue why height doesn't matter. I could say being shorter is better because like in airplanes, like you're not so like you have more space. But then I'm arguing about something else. So why? Because I mean, I know. Next, like your turn.
Alrighty. Bro just folded it like
Hello?
Bro, why are you parking?
Seriously, what is that?
You could have parked anywhere.
They could have parked there, they could have parked there, they could have parked there.
Red Bull gives you wings.